Where did the inspiration for this movie come from?
Basically came from this struggling battle that we all have with our ego, and in this case, in a personal battle that I have.
You are lame, Reagan. Rolling around with that Ponzi theater in an 800-seat shithole like this.
A director struggling with his ego makes a film about a debut theatre director also struggling with his ego. Alejandro González Iñárritu understood that making Birdman was inherently a meta statement, and instead of ignoring it, he chose to lean in.
Yeah, it's a play of a movie, it's a meta film. In a way, I think we all were reflected. There was a lot of mirrors.
Birdman is Regan Thompson, a washed-up actor who was once renowned for playing a superhero. Does that remind you of anybody?
I'm Batman. I play Batman, and he was, significant in Birdman. And also, I'm an actor, and he's an actor, so you're a moron if you don't accept that.
Michael Keaton has had a great last decade, with leading or supporting roles in some brilliant and memorable movies like Spotlight and The Founder, and some decent blockbusters like The Flash and Spider-Man Homecoming, where he plays a winged character again, this time by the name of the Vulture. But at the time of Birdman's release, it was 2014, and Michael Keaton hadn't been in a leading role since White Noise 9 years earlier, and many would have thought of him as someone past his prime whose career peaked when he got to play Batman over 20 years ago. That is, if they thought of him at all. That changes when in Birdman, Michael Keaton sheds his bat wings and redefines himself as a serious, dramatic actor, mirroring the critical acclaim and artistic integrity that his character is trying to achieve within the narrative of the movie.
Question is what love is about, what means that, and they are looking for love. And I think I wanted a play that in a way will be projected, and suddenly the character Regan Thompson will be playing, and suddenly the play will take his life and he will become one of the characters that he's trying to be in that same. The film was about the play of a guy that was working in a film, making a film about the play that is, it was a meta dialogue.
Regan desperately wants to make a deeper impact on the world and be admired as a true artist, so he sinks all of his remaining money into putting on a Broadway play.
You wrote this adaptation?
I did, yeah.
And you're directing and starring in your adaptation. That's ambitious.
Well, thanks.
Public admiration might be what he thinks he wants, but what he really wants is human connection.
That's what you always do. You confuse love for admiration.
The play he puts on is an adaptation of Raymond Carver's short story, What We Talk About When We Talk About Love, where a man must face the crippling regret of looking back at a life lived selfishly, yearning for the love and connection he once took for granted.
I don't exist.
I'm not even here. None of this even matters.
I don't exist. I don't exist.
His anguish on stage is reflected off stage as Regan looks back at a life filled with regret, as he pushed away his one true love and basically missed his daughter's entire childhood.
He was never around.
He gave his best self to the applause of the crowd and had only scraps of little time and energy left to give his family. So we can see the metatextual layers as the director Iñárritu, the actor Michael Keaton, and his character Regan Thompson are all holding a mirror up to themselves, reflecting their own nature in their work. But the meta goes even deeper than that. Of course, for Michael Keaton, Naomi Watts, and Edward Norton, there's the unavoidable meta element of the real-life actors playing the fictional actors in the movie, but the choice to cast Edward Norton as the actor Mike Shiner ended up being one of the greatest casting decisions of the century.
Thank you, Captain.
Not just because of how electric he was on screen, but because it added more layers of meta than Alejandro Iñárritu himself may have intended. Mike Shiner is a highly talented but notoriously difficult and egotistical method actor. Again, remind you of anyone? Edward Norton has notoriously been a, let's say, opinionated actor to work with, and if he hadn't had such difficulties with Kevin Feige in Marvel Studios, he may still be the Hulk today instead of Mark Ruffalo. So he's a sometimes difficult actor playing an always difficult actor, and his relationship with his director, Regan, is unhealthy from the beginning, as he almost immediately tries to take over and starts directing his own director.
Can I make a suggestion? I mean, do you mind?
Sure. No, not at all.
Okay.
Not at all.
No, forget that.
Okay.
Just stay with me.
Regan needs Mike's popularity to sell tickets for the play, and he resents him for that.
Shut the fuck up. You don't get hard on my stage unless I tell you to.
Your stage?
Yeah.
Oh, let me tell you something. This stage has belonged to a lot of great actors, but you are not one of them.
But he also admires Mike for being the true artist that Regan aspires to be.
It's good, huh?
He's incredible.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything
I
like
think
that
he's
in my life.
drinking real gin.
What?
Riggins' ego desires the crowd's attention and praise above all else. So when Edward Norton's character gets a front cover interview with New York's most highly acclaimed theater critic,
He's an asshole.
I told you. You fuck. He's playing you, Riggin.
Riggin and Mike's already tense relationship boils over as Riggins' ego can't take another hit.
What the hell is going on? Hey! Ow! That hurt! Get off! Back away!
So, am I going to say this is another meta element mirrored in Norton's relationship with his real-life director, Iñárritu? Well, obviously Alejandro isn't hitting Edward with a newspaper in real life, but it's interesting to see how they relate to each other. Watch how Edward likes poking fun at his director.
People ask me what actors I was referencing and stuff, and I always say that I basically just looked 4 feet to my left at Alejandro because I felt I'm wearing his scarf in the movie, I'm wearing his jacket. Everything I say in the movie, I've heard him say, or I know he wants to say.
Edward Norton's character is a narcissistic sex offender with little to no self-awareness, so being told that someone is basing that character on you,
Your ass is great.
it's not exactly flattering. It's all said in good spirits, and Iñárritu takes it well, but watch how he interrupts Norton to tell a story at his expense.
No, let me interrupt you because there was a very funny moment. That one of my favorite moments in doing the film. We were basically rehearsing that scene, where basically, Regan Thompson is trying to get him to the lines, and they are discussing about it, and he just has jumped in, and he's trying just to warm him up, and so obviously Mike Shiner take over and began to direct him, and suddenly I was explaining Edward, how the movement and the camera and the pace and everything. And he began to question me about it. Wait a minute, but why I should say that? So suddenly, the meta dialogue, he was basically directing me, saying what the actor was saying, and I was looking the page, I said, oh my God, this is a fucking mirror in the mirror in the mirror. It was so funny.
My entire performance constituted dropping the Mexican accent. And that was it. For a while in rehearsals, I was saying, exactly.
Cabron.
So Norton is directing his director, just like his character. He and Iñárritu have a friendly banter, mirroring the less friendly banter his character has with his director. The way Birdman's actors reflect themselves in their roles adds something to the experience of watching, in the same way that a story about lovers becomes even juicier when we know we're getting a window into a romance that transcends the screen, as the line between reality and fiction begins to blur. Birdman can't stop referencing Birdman. It's a self-obsessed movie. And isn't that perfect for a story that centers around a man's ego? It knows it's going to be called pretentious by some people, but it's okay with that. It prefers that to the thought of being a shallow, forgettable popcorn blockbuster with lots of explosions.
They love action, not this talky, depressing, philosophical bullshit.
In these times where we are living, that only franchises are being made, and I have been offered, but I cannot do something that I will not be rewarded creatively. I cannot dedicate 2 years of my life doing something that it will be just for money.
Iñárritu is in the exact place Regan Thompson wishes he was in. A director respected for making what I'm sure even Scorsese himself would classify as real cinema. Birdman may not have reached the mass appeal of a Marvel movie, but it did as well as anyone could have possibly hoped, grossing over $100 million to date and being nominated for 9 Oscars, winning 4 of them including Best Picture. If Regan was real and he got to meet Iñárritu, I think he'd be jealous. That is, before he does manage to pull off the same thing as Alejandro and experience the glowing 5-star reviews he was hoping for, but he pays a much dearer price. He pays with a pound of flesh, or more literally a few grams of flesh, as his entire nose is splattered on the stage of the St. James Theatre. This being the kind of cautionary ending we hope to not reflect in real life. A variety of characters, actors, and a director hold a mirror up to their faces, each satirizing their own unique manifestation of their egos, but also genuinely wrestling and grappling with their egos in the process. Birdman isn't sanctimoniously telling us what to do, or even offering any answers, but this is the kind of story that can help to disarm our ego, holding a mirror up to it and reflecting back its utter stupidity.
You really don't give a shit if people like you or not.
Not really.
It's cool.
Is it? I don't know.
Until next time, I'm Brendan Lorenzo.
And it was a very nice review, but of course this critic had to take a moment to, maintain his own credibility and say that he had not liked Alejandro's other films. And he said it was a relief to see him get away from the turgid, semi-religious pretentiousness to encompass all the emotion of the world. And Alejandro goes, turgid, semi-religious pretentiousness to encompass all the emotion of the world. That sounds fantastic.
Well, the guy was a good guy. I think Cartel has taken care of him already.